There's an awful lot to say about Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. There's a part of me that wants to tell you it's an unpolished God of War clone, that it's a bug-ridden mess with janky gameplay, dull combat, and a meaningless RPG system, that its story rarely reaches the heights its concept promises, its choices utterly devoid of consequence. However, there too lies within me a part, albeit a small one, that feels there is something special about Banishers. Unfortunately, I'm not convinced those fleeting moments weren't playing the game at all. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden tells the story of two Banishers, Antea and Red McWraith, both of whom set sail for New Eden. Shortly after they arrive, Antea is killed by a nightmare, and now a ghost must guide Red towards defeating it and recovering her body. She wants to ascend to the afterlife, but Red is keen on bringing her back to life. This, in theory, makes for a compelling love story. Unfortunately, is absolutely wasted, owing to the fact that Antea and Red's relationship feels muted at best, a grossly underdeveloped bond that feels neither romantic nor familiar. Fortunately, the game's somewhat captivating world-building and branching narrative threads make up for the squandered potential. The plethora of side quests also help to flesh out this somber world and make up the majority of the game's more enjoyable story beats. On the other hand, Banisher's gameplay feels rather lackluster, a pale imitation of the God of War formula that sees you navigate through linear, interconnected areas interspersed with combat encounters. This would be perhaps a little less egregious were it not for the arduous backtracking between fast travel points that only adds frustration to an already dull activity. Unfortunately, combat fares no better. While it's certainly competent, there's little variation, with only a handful of abilities for Antea being added throughout. You'll be able to switch between the two at any moment, with each character being more effective against certain enemies, encouraging you to alternate on the fly. While there are a handful of interesting boss encounters, the majority of combat will see you face off against the same foes, all of which fall within some basic enemy archetype. It's nothing you haven't seen before, and the meaningless RPG-like system, which sees you unlock nodes for each of Antea's abilities, does little to iterate. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden at least looks good. Each of the game's varied environments is dense and rich with ambience, engulfing you in a constant state of dread and sorrow. I did, however, encounter a number of glitches, namely audio bugs that saw songs and audio cut out completely. On several occasions when booting up the game, it would sit for minutes at a time without progressing to the home screen, and on several more, the game lagged whenever I entered a particularly particle-heavy environment. It pains me to say that Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is perfectly mediocre. While there are aspects of its story that were particularly affecting, the majority of it felt squandered, owing to the lack of meaning in its core, choice-driven concept. The gameplay is arduously dull, at the worst of times, and at best, a pale imitation of its clear inspirations. Banishers is not awful, far from it, but it's not special either. I would argue that unless there's something about it that truly speaks to you, you'd better spend your time and money elsewhere. Game Creator is giving Banishers Ghosts of New Eden a 6 out of 10. Make sure to like and subscribe for more reviews just like this one.